Welcome to the Outstanding People Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, and I'd love to hear your feedback. You can leave me a comment, or you can write me at outstandingpeoplepodcast@gmail.com. Today we have a great show for you. Tom Riles has been doing warm-up for the Ellen DeGeneres Show for the past 16 years. His other credits include Dancing with the Stars, American Idol, The Masked Singer, The Voice, Will and Grace, That's My Jam with Jimmy Fallon, Deal or No Deal, and 100 other shows. Today, he sits down with me to talk about his journey into the entertainment business, how he found success, what it was like to work on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, and I also get candid with him about the negative press surrounding the show towards the end of its run. This is going to be a good one. Let's get into it. Tommy, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Slade, my man, congrats on the launch of the show. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
I told my wife I was going to be on, she's like, "But are you outstanding?" And I was like, I'm just supporting Slade and his outstanding show.
I think so. I think, once we delve into your career, it's going to be pretty obvious how outstanding you are. I always tell you that. I'm always so proud of you because, one, we've come up in this business together. We've known each other. I was thinking about this the other day. We've known each other 20 years now. We started together at the Ananda Lewis Show. And we'll get into that in a minute, but just your progression throughout your career has just been really an amazing journey. And I'm always so proud to hear of all the cool things you're doing because, in our line of work, I'm pretty much daily surrounded by the inner workings of the producing staff. So when I hear the things you're doing, because you do things in the entertainment business that I can't even dream of doing. You have such a great personality that you're able to command these huge crowds, and we'll get into like warm up. But yeah, it's just I'm always so impressed with you. So congrats on everything that you do.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, and likewise, when you called me to do this, I thought it was so cool because I don't know that there's anyone that has seen each touch point of my career like you have, minus my college internship at Conan, which was my first thing in TV. You were there kind of every step of the way. We worked on, at least three different shows together, maybe four,
right?
And then we've remained friends, and our kids are about the same age. So it's really been fun to, stay connected throughout all these years. Absolutely.
You just said you did an internship with Conan.
Yeah, my senior year of college, I had finished all my credits. So that allowed me to, my final semester, commute up to the city 4 days a week. So I was a script intern at Conan. So I was making copies of the script and, giving them to all the writers and giving them the cue cards. So I got to kind of see that live energy of a TV studio up close because I was working there. And that's when I thought that was the coolest job in the world. The energy before a TV show started, a great show. I thought that was an amazing thing, and I knew what I wanted to do right then.
Right. And for people that have not been to a live taping or a show, whatever, explain to them what a warm-up act does.
Sure. So it's different for every TV show. I guess I should say the type of warm-up is different for every show. But first, I'll talk about something like Conan or Ellen for right now, at least. So with that one, those shows are machines. And we pump out 5 episodes a week. And the audience comes in at a certain time. The show's maybe starting at 4 o'clock. The audience is maybe in their seats at 3:30. And then I'm taking the stage maybe at 3:40. I'm doing 5 or 10 minutes of rules, excitement, getting them to laugh. The one secret of warm-up, which, some people may not know, is it can't be about you. You have to very quickly realize, that's why a lot of great stand-up comics, they might not be great at warm-up, because it's all about them. Of course it is. They're delivering their jokes and they want to shine themselves, but it's an egoless position where you have to realize you're a part of the team and you're a very important part of the team, but your head can never get too big because there's someone that's about to walk through the door, which is why everyone is there, and just understanding that balance. So getting 100%. Them as prepped as possible for those doors to open and the show to start. So, and that was always exciting for me because I never needed to be the star. So that was a great role for me.
No, and I think that's a great way to look at it. Even on the producing side of things, every time I went to a show, I went in with the mindset of, I'm not there to be best friends with the host, because sometimes, you can get starstruck if you're working with a big celebrity, but you have to go in thinking, I'm there to produce this show in their voice, to I'm there as, a secondary to that person to make them look good. I'm not there to be their friend. I'm not there to, get accolades or whatever it may be. I mean, those are all nice things that come along if they come, but your job is to make that person look good. You know, so I totally understand that. And then, so how did you then go from Conan to, was Ananda your next job?
Yeah. So I was an intern at Conan. I was hoping to get hired there, but sometimes if you're starting in TV or film, it's almost better to not work for a successful show because there's a much faster path towards growth in your career and the role that you're in. So luckily, looking back, I didn't get hired at Conan because I think if I had, I would have been in the same role for maybe 10 years or so and never been able to reach what I really wanted.
Right.
So I got hired on Ananda, which was a brand new daytime talk show. And the way that happened, it came down to my dad, actually, he used to run a nonprofit where he would deliver teddy bears to the hospital and needy kids and families. He would get them donated, and then there were some monetary donations that he would just go and deliver this. He met someone at King World Productions. His name is Lee Letty, for anyone out there that's playing along and knows their people. And he helped out his family. And then he was like, well, what can I ever do for you? Saying this to my dad. And my dad said, well, my son wants to work in TV. Can I send him your resume? And that got me a PA job on the Ananda Lewis Show in New York back in 2001.
I love hearing that. I love hearing everybody's journey to how we started in this business. Like you, mine was so unconventional as well. I had just gotten out of the military. I was going to school down in Florida, and I transferred over to NYU. And while I was there, my mom calls me, and I was working at this like rinky-dink talent agency in Times Square, just trying to make some money. And they would like place background people on shows. And while I was there, a call came in that Queen Latifah was starting a show, and they needed people to do like a pilot, and for people that don't know, a pilot is kind of like the test first show. So the guy that was working at the agency, I was just at the front desk, like a receptionist. He's like, hey, you go to that acting school. Why don't you go over there and play the part of one of the people on the stage or whatever? And I forgot what it was, something to do with like relationships gone bad or something. So I was all excited. I go over there and I meet the producers and this and that. And we go ahead and we do that. And then my mom calls me like a couple of days later, and she's like, I'm watching this Rosie O'Donnell lady on TV. She seems so nice. Why don't you just call her and ask her for a job? And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. Like, you can't just call a celebrity and say, give me a job. So anyways, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can't call her, but maybe I call the show and just see what they're doing. And I did. And long story short, the girl that answered the phone was said that they were interviewing for interns. And if I wanted to come over, she would put me on the list, which never happens in this business, right? So I was like, oh, okay. I go over there, and serendipity, someone's looking out, because the producers that were producing Rosie happened to be the same producers that were doing Queen Latifah. So I had met all these people just a couple of days later, and lo and behold, I got the internship, and that's how I started. I got an internship at Rosie and went on and on. But that's so great. And then, so we meet at Ananda. Things are going great. We're both working in, this business that we wanted to be in. What are your first memories of working at Ananda? Was it everything that you thought it would be in working in television, or do you remember?
It was. Yeah, I remember we started probably in July or something like that. The show launched in September. So I remember going to the first meetings, Ananda coming in for a first meeting. So I was there from the very beginning, which I think you were as well. And then I was, one of the glamorous things, I got to drive Ananda. She parked in the parking garage across the street, but across the street can mean it could take 10 minutes to get across the street and around the corner. So she would pull her car. Wait, how did it work? I met her in the parking garage as she parked her car, and then I drove her to the studio. So right away, I had a pretty cool job where I'm picking up the celebrity in the parking garage, driving her to the studio, and then driving the other car back to the garage. So, I mean, that was unbelievable to me to be connecting with someone like that on that level. And, like yourself, you were a higher level on that show, but I was a PA, but I was willing to do absolutely anything. And I always had the mindset, and still do have the mindset, man, anything I could take on to learn and do, and it doesn't even matter if I get paid for a while, But if I can just do it and learn about it, I'm all in.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that even today, like you said, we're both well established in our careers. Even today, I mean, you have to be willing to give 110% everywhere you go. That never stops, and you never stop learning, especially in this business, because it evolves so quickly. You always have to be willing to show whoever that you're willing to give 110%. And if that means taking a pay cut somewhere, I mean, no one wants to do it, but if you want something bad enough, that might be your avenue in, and just be willing to do whatever it takes to impress the people around you. And then growth will come. But that's a great takeaway. So we're both at Ananda, and then unfortunately, 9/11 happens. And New York shuts down. The show shuts down. Well, eventually the show shuts down. I remember, I still remember when it happened. Do you remember Mary Duffy? She was the executive producer there. She came from Hardcore News. So when all the other talk shows were shutting down, she's like, we got to go get the story. And I'm like, what? So she sent me down to ground zero, or at least as far as we can get. And she's like,
I think I was with you.
I was going to ask you if you were, because
I was your PA, and we're walking towards it all as everyone else is walking away, you know?
Yes. Okay, good. I was going to ask, because I didn't remember, but I thought you might have been. And I just remember thinking, like, what are we doing? Like, they wanted us to bring back people to be guests on the show that are looking for loved ones. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, it was really, I was so conflicted at that time with doing that. And then after that, the show, I think we took a little bit of a hiatus, and then we had some new management come in, and eventually, I remember I got an opportunity to go to California, and I'd never been there, and I always wanted to check out California. So I wound up going out west and starting up Dr. Phil. And you wound up then coming out to California as well. How did that happen?
So that show got canceled after 1 year. It never really got off, partially because of 9/11, I believe.
Sure.
We were preempted for weeks, or if not months. And I guess I should fill in the dots a little bit. In that time as a PA, 9/11 actually, oddly enough, helped. The audience was so depressed, so sad coming in every day, that I started doing warm-up in the days after 9/11 just to put a smile on their face, just to make everyone at ease a little bit before we did, a really tough show. So that was my training ground and warm-up.
Wow.
My first time
that was your first time doing warm-up.
So again, and I worked for free. I was paid as a PA the entire season. Maybe I should have asked for some after checks. I don't know.
But
after it was all said and done.
Look at what happened, though. It started a great career for you.
Exactly, yeah. So I got my training then, and then so when I moved to California, and the people we had met in New York on that show were working in California, and they hired me. That was King Royal Productions and Linda and Tara, and I got hired, and I was back down. I was doing warm-up, then I'm back to, I think, a receptionist. I started as receptionist a year later at Hollywood Squares. Again, I'll take anything to get in the door. Think
about the talent that was on that show. I was doing a little bit of research, and just kind of looking at the names that were on at that time. Joan Rivers, and some of the people that you would then go on to work with. Tom Bergeron, Ellen was a guest on there. So yeah, it actually foreshadowed a little bit of your career.
So Henry Winkler was the executive producer. Him and Michael Levitt, a mutual friend of ours. Henry and Michael were the executive producers.
And if people don't know who Henry is, shame on you, but he's the Fonz.
That's right. When I started working, actually, he called me before I started working there. He was very involved in the how careers go in television as actors. There's ups and downs and all that. Sure. And I think for a while he was producing. That was before he kind of reinvented himself. And, look at him now. He's winning Emmys again.
Crazy.
But he called me, and he was like, "This is Henry Winkler. You got a job?" I was like, "Oh, my gosh, this is amazing. This is the Fonz." And a couple times we would put Happy Days on in the office, and once or twice he walked by, and he looked at us once. He's like, "I was in that." And he just left for the day.
He didn't say, like, "Hey," or anything like that?
Yeah, I think he tried to stay away from that. Yeah. So,
that's really cool.
It was great, really man. Cool. Yeah, so I was in LA and I was working out there. I had a job, but I didn't know I'd never been to the city, never visited, but I just went and figured it out.
Yeah. And then so Hollywood Squares, you did that. And then What came after that? How did your career start to progress from there?
Well, and also I should say, when Ellen was the center square, it was either her or her assistant.
Craig?
I remembered me slightly. Yes,
Oh,
Craig.
okay.
One of them,
Great.
I'm not sure who it was exactly, but one of them that planted the seed in their mind. So years later, when they were looking for someone, I was on that list. So that was
Yeah.
unimaginable. And
How did that? So that call comes in. Did you reach out to them, or did you just get a call one day and saying, "Hey, we want you to do warm up here"?
I got a call years later. So they called. I'm not sure if you know Zach, who is Michael Levitt's longtime assistant and producing friend and such. So they had called Zach, asking around, and we think we remember someone from Hollywood Squares. And Zach was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Tom Riles. You got to talk to him." So next thing I know, I'm getting a call from Greg over at Greg Gordon over at the Ellen Show, and you know how the ups and downs in just television career as us that are behind the scenes go too. I don't think I had a job in 6 months or so, and I had actually moved back in with my parents for a little bit. They eventually made it out to California. I was like, man, I don't know if I can even rent the place anymore because my roommate had moved back to Jersey, so was living with them. Then I got a call. I was living in Orange County for a little bit, and they invited me up for a day, and then they invited me up for the next day, and then they invited me up for the next week, and then they stopped saying anything, so I just kept showing up, and they were paying me, so I just kept on going.
And
I
was
remember
that
at the end of my
what
Yeah,
season was that? The beginning, or were they already
That was-
established to the
it
show?
was season 2.
Season 2. Okay.
Season 2. Yep.
Oh, what a great blessing, huh?
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
remember at the end of season 2, I saw Ellen at the wrap party. It was like, hey, man, I've had so much fun. I would love to do it again. And she was like, let's do it. And I was like, good. I think I still got the job. But then I didn't hear anything from anyone for 2. But no one's thinking about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no.
we're all in our heads. Yeah. I wonder what that person thinks of how I did that day. No one's thinking about you.
I had the same experience. I was doing the Megan Mullally show at one point. So I was at Dr. Phil, and I went to Wayne Brady, and then when the show got canceled, I think I went back to New York for like 2 years, and then I came back and I was doing Megan Mullally, and that show didn't even make it like 6 months, and it got canceled. And it's just the way things go in Hollywood. Sometimes you have a hit, sometimes you don't. And as you said, I was jobless, which can happen. I had previously worked on some major shows, and I thought I was at the top of my game, and I'm like, yes, I've made it in Hollywood, and then I'm unemployed. And I'm thinking, where's my next paycheck going to come from? And I don't know how it happened, but out of the blue, I get a call, and it's the Ellen DeGeneres Show, and they asked that I come see them, and I went and I met with Ed, Mara, and Andy. And like you too, I thought I had a great interview, and I didn't hear back for weeks. And I'm like, did I get the job? Did I not get the job? And, long story short, I got the job, and I was thrilled because it was really, truly one of the best places I've ever worked.
Yeah. What a run. What a run. Yeah.
Great run, great people. I think that's what made the show so special is that, the team and staff that worked behind the scenes on that show, it was like a big, fun, dysfunctional family. We all loved each other. We went out together. We did things together. The show it was a well-oiled machine. We got to do some really incredible things with that show. I mean, do you have a highlight? Is there anything that you think back and you say, man, I got to do this?
Yeah, probably the trip to Australia. We went to Australia.
Oh, wow.
Were you on that trip or no?
I was not, no.
Okay. We went to Australia, and then in good and bad news, I guess Ellen got a little sick, which delayed her departure from California to Australia. But we were all there, so we're like, well, I guess you guys should just stay there. So we just stayed there for 4 or 5 days before anything that had anything to do with the show. There were meetings, I guess, but we weren't taping till the following Tuesday, and it was a Wednesday before, something like that. Man. And my wife was there. So
that's
we just
great.
had the greatest time. And then once we did get it all together, we did a show in front of 10,000 people.
10,000 people.
They filled a park. But then they filled one part of the park, but then they didn't all fit there. So then I had to run down to the other part of the park, down a bunch of steps and through a landing, and there was another 4,000 people down there. So I'm kind of running back and forth and talking to both of them, and
So at that
exhausted.
time in your career, do you get nerves when you have to warm up a crowd that size, or are you like, nah, I got this?
For me, always like the larger the crowd, the better for sure. I might be less comfortable in a small group conversation of 3 or 4 people than in front of 1,000 people.
So
I'm
you just
kind of
feed
wired
on that energy.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no, there was no nervousness there with
Right.
that. And I was pretty comfortable doing warm up at that time. Like I do other things, and I'm sure we'll get into it soon on this with some other things that I've started to do. I like pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I want to do things that I'm not comfortable with. So that's kind of some of the stuff that I'm working on now, because I just feel like, man, if you get too old and you didn't try what you wanted to do, but also scared you the most,
Yeah.
you know what?
100%.
You know, what are you doing?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You got to live life, right? You got to live life. Well, yeah, I don't want to, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I just wanted to kind of ask your opinion, because I know we've kind of shared these thoughts before. What is your opinion on the way the show ended? And because I know, and we've talked about this, I think Ellen is an amazing person, and I do think she got a bad rap towards the end. You were, obviously there a lot longer than I was. I'm just curious to know your thoughts on the way things went down.
for sure, man. Yeah, I love Ellen. It was the dream job for 17, however long I did it, 16 years, 17 years. And, the way that she and the team there treated me and treated my family was extraordinary. When my oldest daughter was born, she was born with a heart defect, and she had a really scary start. And I remember, Slade, you sending me messages throughout it. So again, you've been with me every kind of touch point of my life, and I appreciate that. And but Ellen was doing the same thing. Her and the team were texting me, wanting, like, I couldn't even comprehend. And they were taping shows that day, how that could even fit into someone's mind like Ellen, when you know how it goes with someone of that stature. They're thrown so much in a day, then they got to go do a show. So the fact that her heart could be with me and thinking about it on a 30-minute basis throughout the day was astounding to me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's, I think, what a lot of people don't realize is that's Ellen. She is a caring person. Like, and people have seen it on the show where she cries and gets upset over a dog, going missing, or whatever it may be. Like, she is just an emotional person who cares deeply for people. And I think she got caught up in something that she wasn't involved in, but because her name is on the show, she got dragged into it. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I agree with you. She's an amazing person. And if anybody out there has any doubts of, why the show got canceled, or didn't get canceled, but why the show ended, or was it because of the bad rap? That's not her. And really, she is an amazing person. And I've seen her do so much good for people and charities, and on a personal level as well. So, but you were saying, speaking of when your first daughter was born, is that when Life of Dad came to be?
That's right.
If you can explain that a little bit, because this is where I talk about, you do things that are so extraordinary and they become so successful. Talk about Life of Dad, how that kind of came to be, what it is, and then where it's at today.
Sure. Yeah, so when my daughter was born, and she's healthy now, by the way. Her name is Barbara. She is 12 years old. She's in middle school now. She's an amazing gal. When she was born, she had a heart defect, and we're in the hospital. And, my wife was in, like, some mom support groups. And, sometimes dads are kind of left alone in scenarios like this. And I was just kind of searching online. Is there some sort of group for dads that I could talk to that are going through something with their kids that are struggling? And I couldn't really find anything. So I kind of stored that in the back of my mind. Around the same time, I wanted to, because I'm an entertainer, I wanted to create something that was fun and funny about me being a parent. So I started doing blogs and little videos as Barbara started to get better. And it was all inspirational stuff, because it was coming from a hard place, a scary place. But I was trying to bring light into a sad situation, or hope into something that was scary. And that's what my content was at first. And it was all about me and my journey. Within a year or so, and that grew to a certain level, maybe thousands of followers or something like that. But along the way, I realized, well, if there was something out there that was about all dads, so a dad like I was in that hospital could find this group and be a part of it, that could be even more important. So I was able to a couple of guys, including a couple of my brother-in-laws, started helping me out. And we built this into something where it was about all dads, and we were sharing all dads' stories. We're sharing my buddies' stories, and then people would start sending in stories. They would send in a photo, they just had a baby, and something about their medically fragile baby, and we would post that. And then it went from Facebook to Instagram, to YouTube and all the above. Wow. And here we are 12 years later. And it became a business of sorts. And, as a business owner, there's ups and downs with that throughout the whole thing. There were times when we were making a lot of money and brands were hiring us to create great content. And that was amazing. And I had like 10 employees at one point. And then I was kind of forced into learning how to be an entrepreneur, which was not my initial thought there, and never thought I would have employees. But that was where it was going, which was great. But along that same time, what really started growing was these groups that we have. We have Facebook groups of dads we call it each vertical of fatherhood: expectant dads, new dads, and then you go into their interests or lifestyle, single dads, guys that have gone through divorce or something, they'll join that group. Geek dads, guys that are into the geek culture. And these groups, which are powered by the overall Life of Dad, which now has like 4 million plus followers and reaches millions weekly. But these groups, inside these groups, and now it's grown to beyond anything I could have ever imagined. These are guys that are helping other guys. If someone's going through something really hard, all these other guys are standing up and helping them out. They're having meetups around the country. I'm an antisocial sometimes, you know what I mean? I like being just at home or just on my back deck now. But they're going and meeting up and such. Like, it's unbelievable, and it has helped so many dads' lives, and that has grown beyond what I could have imagined. And I guess
it's become like a force multiplier. You created something that then just keeps building and building and building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I guess the takeaway, if we're looking for takeaways, would be just start something and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it was a lot of work, and I never knew where it's going, and I still don't fully know where it's going.
Sure.
But I'm super proud of what it is, and, it's not turning into the multi-million-dollar company that I thought it would be when we were making a lot of money. But I think more importantly, if I can have my name involved with something that's going to help millions of dads in the years to come, what could possibly be better than that?
Yeah, I mean, that's priceless, right? You're giving a community to people who need it, and people who, like you were in a place where all you wanted to do was just talk to somebody that was going through the same situation, and now someone else has that. That's priceless. So
exactly.
Good on you, man. I mean, that's amazing, and the fact that it's still going and it's 4+ million followers is huge. That's amazing.
We also, I just remember something, and we obviously made a lot of fun videos along the way, but you were in one of them. We had a bachelor. One of the things we phrased the term "bachelor party," which is
was that the McDonald's one?
Yeah. Every bachelor has a bachelor. Every guy has a bachelor party before a wedding, but a bigger transformation in a guy's life is becoming a father, bigger than getting married. So they need a bachelor party. And we shot some videos, and you came to one of them.
I came to your house, right?
To sponsor it. Yeah, it was in my backyard, and my dad was there too. And I was like, Dad, can you just sit in the back of this minivan and throw hamburgers at us? Because they'd given us like 300.
No, I remember. I remember the doors open, and it was just McDonald's upon McDonald's upon McDonald's being thrown out of the car.
Yeah.
That was great.
So I'm known to do things like that, like call someone and say, yeah, hey, McDonald's, I think you guys should probably be giving us, 300 cheeseburgers right about now because we're going to have a big party. And, hey, you make the call. Sometimes it works.
And only you can convince them to do it. Oh, sure. Here, take 300. So now, because obviously we see your background there, you've moved from California to Tennessee. You're in Nashville now, which is amazing. It's one of the places I always wanted to visit. How has that been?
Yeah, man, we would love to have you and G and the family out here. It has been it's been great. So we moved. It was one of those pandemic moves where I mean, luckily for me, the Ellen Show was still going on. I was still getting paid. I wasn't working. So I was able to move across the country. And then somewhere in there, we started doing virtual shows. So for about 6 months, I was doing warm-up for the Ellen Show in Los Angeles, but I was in Nashville. So I would just sign on to a computer like this and hype up the people on Zoom, and then their videos were placed in monitors on the Ellen stage. So that was something I never would have thought of happened, but that's what I did for about 6 months there. And honestly, we knew the show was ending. I didn't necessarily need to continue my warm-up career. I'm super proud of it. I've had, we'll say, 3 big goals in life, and I've achieved 2 of them farther than I could have imagined. One was to become a warm-up guy. I set that goal at 22, did it for 18 years, and I'm proud of that. And, with some of these crew positions, we're not movie stars. It's an amazing gig, and it can pay really well, but, there's a lot more to life than that, So the big move made sense. So we're out here. And by the way, my second goal in life was building Life of Dad to become something meaningful. So I was able to do that.
Check. Yep.
Just kind of putting that into perspective. And so here we are now. And for my wife and I, and the kids too, it's as exciting as moving to LA at 22. I moved to Nashville at 42. This is such a vibrant city. It's so exciting. You have kind of coffee meetings with people, and who knows where it's going to lead. And it's already led to some amazing things for me. So I'm really excited about what's going on.
Yeah, and I also wanted to throw in there, so people know, your wife, Lucy, who is an amazing person in her own right, has created Life of Mom now. So if people are looking to check out a place, a brand, or a place where women and moms can go and have like-minded conversations, check out Life of Mom, because that's a great one as well.
Yes. Thank you, man.
Oh, of course. And I know you guys are both you guys are such entrepreneurs. It's amazing. You guys even wrote a book together, right?
Yeah. We wrote a book together, and I should say too, she's a big part of the Life of Dad thing too. There were times where I think I was on rollerblades doing a video, and I twisted my wrist, and I couldn't change diapers for like a week. So but she was cool with it all. 4 people watched that video, by the way. So it was nothing great, right? But so supportive all the way through. And, she's got a great creative mind and has helped build all this up in every which way. Yeah, we got to go on the Ellen Show and some other TV shows after we wrote a book called Mom versus Dad, which was, we had built these great communities, but a lot of the people in the communities don't really know who we are, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But as we're both performers, we wanted to create something that was kind of our own IP. So we started a stage show called Mom versus Dad, where you get on stage and compete against each other or talk in a comedic way about different topics, silly things that couples don't get along about. And that led to a podcast named the same and a book named the same. So I like projects and packaging it and seeing where it can lead.
Yeah, no, and I love that you can work with your wife and get along and be successful at it. That's great. And then, so that brings me to, you're in Nashville, and I hear now you're doing auctioneering. Is that right?
Yeah, man. So listen, I made good money doing audience warm up. So something had to kind of fill that void at some point, right? And this is so natural to me. So along the same time, when my daughter was born and she was sick, all these charities started reaching out to me. This is 12 years ago.
And you're no stranger to charity. I mean, you've been hosting charity events, and we should say that. So, I mean, like you said, it feels like a natural transition.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So around that time, they all, like the American Heart Association and smaller charities, reached out to me, asking me to come MC their galas. So I would just, they'd fly me out, and I would, of course, volunteer to MC their galas, and that was great. And I saw they always had an auctioneer at one of these, so I, just kind of naturally started doing that at some of them over the past 12 years. When in Tennessee, though, and I had my eyes on this job for a little while, but in Tennessee, you need a license to be an auctioneer, and you have to go to school to be an auctioneer. And in California, nobody cares. You just do what you want to do. But out here, it's more structured, which ended up being a good thing. So it was like, okay, so I got to go back to school. All right, I'll do it. And then the
and
key.
So did you do that part already? You already went back to the auctioneer school?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what is it? So what do you learn in the school part of it?
So the school part of it, I would compare that more to like getting a real estate license. Okay. So it wasn't necessarily the speaking fast part, which I'll get to in a moment. But the first week of school was the learning about different types of auctions, and there's livestock auctions, and there's gun auctions, and there's There's, farm equipment auctions, home auctions, and then these big gala fundraiser auctions, which I was talking about, and many more types. So learning about all that and learning about how they function and how to run a business. There's entrepreneurial stuff in there, how to run a business as an auctioneer, all that. And then the final part is the bid calling. That's when you get in. Hey, I bid at 5, now 10. What do you get 15 here to buy? Get them on 20, and now 25, and now 30. So
that's awesome.
I think what's interesting about me is, and I know, I know a whole bunch of people that are auctioneering now, but I'm a little different because I'm so comfortable on stage. I'm kind of an entertainer first and then an auctioneer second.
Right. I was just saying, yeah, a lot of those guys you see, they speak fast, but that's all. They're not really entertaining. They're just calling out whoever the highest bidder is.
Right. Which is a very important part of it too. But what I bring to the table is being able to make people laugh while this is going on, being able to make people feel really comfortable and have, a night to remember. And what I've done, though, is, my approach, again, probably like yours, is I want to befriend everyone. Like in the warm-up community, the same guys. I know mm-hmm. Bill, I know Ruben, I know all these guys. They're all my friends. I would never want a competitive environment. So we just always built each other up and supported each other. And then,
sure.
If I could fill in for you one day, great. So I'm taking the same approach with auctioneering. So I reach out to literally the top folks in Nashville, and I was like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I want to do. Can I come have coffee with you? And a coffee meeting leads to a mentorship, and a mentorship leads to them recommending which school I should go to and who else I should meet with. And it's been this amazing thing, more so, sometimes in Hollywood, and I'm not talking about warm up anymore, just in mm-hmm. general, it can be competitive and people are pushing each other down and, shooting each other in the back, right? Like you see that stuff. In this auctioneering business, everyone truly believes that all ships rise if you all work together. So
such
everyone
a great way. Yeah, such
everyone
a
I've met
smart
with
thing
wants,
that you did.
Yeah, they all want to see me succeed because they know that's going to help them get even better. And I've been as the assistant auctioneer to this guy for over a year now, basically doing it for free, like we were talking about earlier. Last night, I had a massive event out here, and he came and he was my assistant. And this is like a lifelong auctioneer that's like the best in the game. But he wants to be there for me to help build me up, and we had an incredible event last night, and I couldn't have done it without him. So it's really teamwork and
I think on a grander scale, I mean, that's just what the world needs right now. Everybody needs to lift each other up, and stop trying to push people away and climb on top of people to get to the top. If we could all just, befriend each other, work together, be kind to each other, it would just be a much better world, and we need that right now. But I think what you did was really smart, because in anything, reach out to the people who are successful and ask them for help. It's amazing to me how hard it is for people to ask for help, and it's such an easy way to get ahead. So good. I'm glad you're doing that, and I'm sure you're going to be uber successful doing that. And yeah, man. I mean,
if I can add one more point to that, being, for people that are listening, it's never too late. Like, these mentors are younger than me. So there's, again, egoless. What I did was great experience to go do this next thing. But, if you're 40 something and you got to work for free for a year, but that's going to help you out the next year and the year after, if you're able to do it or do it a little bit, why not? Because they've gained trust in me. They're supporting me.
Sure.
I have no ego. I'm better than anyone. I'll work for someone younger than me. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's
if you can have the foresight to look ahead and say, hey, I may have to struggle right now, but it'll benefit me and my family in the future. Why not? Do it. And
right.
and there's no age limit on reinvention. You can reinvent yourself over and over and over again. I did the same. I left the entertainment business for a little while. I started a company, came back to entertainment. Now I'm doing a podcast. Like, to me, that's the fun of life, right? Is just being able to experience everything, try everything. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure will actually make you better. If you can get past that barrier of fear and just try the things you want to try, you'll be surprised at how successful you can actually be. And if it fails, you learn from that failure and you come back even stronger.
Right. That's right, man.
So listen, you are one of my favorites. You really are, man. You have inspired me throughout the years. You have an amazing family. I love that you're not afraid to do the things you want to do, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future, Tom. I'm always in your corner, bud.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going tomorrow, actually. Another thing that scared me, it might seem silly, but I never really did too much stand-up comedy, super comfortable on stage, but I didn't think I was funny enough, right? So about 6 months ago, I was in L.A. for Ellen. The family was here in Nashville. I had nights free, so I just started doing it. It scared me, but I got better. This week and tomorrow, I'm flying to San Francisco to do, 4 shows out there, opening for a friend of mine. And,
Wow.
The more you can make yourself uncomfortable and just keep going. And I'm okay to good at it. I'm not great, but it doesn't matter. I'm getting better, and if I'm good now, imagine where I'll be in 5 years,
Was that something that you always wanted to do, or did it just pop in your head like, hey, I'm going to do stand-up, and go for it?
I always wanted to. I did it a couple times in my early 20s, and it did not go well, and then I was scared to death of it. Yeah, it was just, as bad as you can imagine. Just crickets.
Oh, no.
No one there. Well, only comedians there. They're judging you. But then I got lucky. I started doing the warm-up, and I got paid doing it, and that was great, and I was in front of audiences, but I always wanted to go back to it in the back of my mind. So, again, going back to my daughter, going through that, it made me become fearless. I'm not afraid of anything now. We've already went through the hardest thing. Why not try everything else? So, and I may never be great at stand-up, but at least I can say I did it, and I really enjoy it now.
You're having fun. That's all that matters.
So, yeah.
Right on, man. Well, that's great. I didn't know you were doing stand-up. That's something that scares the pants off of me, man. I don't have problems with crowds. I could talk to people, but stand-up, I've always thought about it, but I don't know if I could actually get up there and start telling jokes. And if everyone's just crickets, I don't know what I would do.
Right. That's why you got to do it now, man. Now you got to do it.
Goodness.
Now that you put it out there. Well, and the thing about that is you can't try to be anyone else. You got to be so true to yourself. Like, I'm a pretty clean person. So literally I'm talking about the grocery store, which I love. And I'm talking about, I'm not a hoarder, but I might be a hoarder. My wife has just walked out and she's cleaning the garage right now, and she might call me a hoarder. But I'm not. But I just talk about the thing. I love stuff.
You tell stories. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So, yeah.
Well, good. Maybe I'll see you in hosting an arena one day. Stand up. The next Kevin Hart.
Out. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, that's great, man.
Well, you'll be opening for me, man, because you would have started.
I don't know about that, but God, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I just to give me your time today, I'm so honored, man. Thank you for being here. Please, let's stay in touch, and I want to, just follow your next career path, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Please give your family a huge hug for me. You're a special guy, Tom. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Right back at you. Dude, this was wonderful. So great to see you and chat, and I can't wait to do it again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, bud. Thank you for tuning in to the Outstanding People podcast. I hope you had fun with that one. Listen, I'd love to hear your comments and questions, so please feel free to email me at outstandingpeoplepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you can hear all the latest episodes. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.